now also joined by BJP leader Piyush Goyal from Trivandrum. Tonight we've got Dr. Shri, one of the few Congress MPs to be able to hold on to his seat. Joining me in the studio headlines today is National Affairs Editor Javed Ansari and Sadanand Dhume still with us. I don't know if you've noticed, and I'm not fully certain if this is by design or whether this is unconscious. But yesterday Narendra Modi started his first speech at 7 p.m. The second one started bang on the dot of the hour at 9. This evening he started at 8 p.m, finished at 8:26, just in time for the news channels to be able to take their commercial breaks to hit 8:30 on time. The point that I'm making is, here's a man who understands how the media works. Here's a man who understands the importance of 24/7 messaging, the complete antithesis of Manmohan Singh, and over the next 5 years he will continue to do the same. My first question tonight is to Piyush Goyal on whether this is happening by design, because we know that you're helping Narendra Modi in a lot of the messaging that the BJP has been doing, and that was your role during the campaign. When you start at 7, you start at 8, you start at 9, you're trying to capture at time. You're not starting at 7:55 because you know that's roughly when everyone's on a break. You start at 8, everyone's cutting to you, you've got mass mileage happening for you. This is free publicity as well. Is this all happening by design, Piyush Goyal?
I think it's probably divine intervention. I don't think you can micromanage Mr. Modi's entry onto a stage, the earlier speeches and everything to that precision. Certainly we cannot set the timings of the Ganga Aarti. It is done by the priests over there. Certainly Mr. Modi cannot know that he will exactly reach through helicopters and planes at any venue. But I must tell you that we didn't have to pay for this airtime. It was the TRPs and the people who watched those television channels that got in the viewership. I think that's the essential difference which this election had. I cannot sell a perfume which doesn't smell good. You have to be a reliable leader, you have to be an honest leader, somebody that people can trust, somebody that people can look up to for change, somebody in whom their aspirations can find a hope for the future. I think that leader is somebody whom we were able to show to the world, and that is the leader the world has, or rather the nation has adopted.
Dr. Tharoor, you've seen a lot of politics in the United States. You know that this is all consciously designed. Nothing happens by accident. They know exactly when to start a press conference, just after the headlines, when they know that everyone will cut to them. That's the way it is. We're seeing the BJP do exactly the same. During the election campaign, Piyush Goyal was running a team that had promos up the next morning. They'd work through the night, take what Narendra Modi said in the evening, have that promo up on air after having been checked by the Election Commission by the next morning. It almost seems in comparison that the Congress is running an outdated campaign which is completely out of sync with reality, and that's the reason why you're suffering the consequences of this massive electoral defeat, Dr. Tharoor.
Well, listen, I certainly am quite willing to take my hat off to the extremely well-organized, lavishly financed, well-staffed and brilliantly executed communications campaign of the BJP. We have all admired, I think, these kinds of details. Even I didn't notice the time precision, but there you are. I mean, every little detail appears to have been attended to. So that's well done. But at the same time, when Piyush speaks of selling a perfume to the nation, he must remember it's a perfume that the vast majority of the nation has never worn. Gujarat has had Narendra Modi as a chief minister. The rest of the nation, you're still selling a product in its packaging. The packaging looks very good, but once you open the bottle, let us see whether the product can live up to the expectations that your effective marketing.
No, but you're talking about a problem that may arise in the future. I'm talking about what happened in this election. When Rahul Gandhi was asked in a meeting with editors about the importance of social media and why he wasn't on Facebook and Twitter by me, he said, this is an urban fang. This is what you people are obsessed about because you are all on it. You're on it and therefore you think everyone's on it. Till a couple of years ago, when the Uttar Pradesh assembly elections were happening, your vice president didn't even understand the importance of social media. In comparison, and still doesn't have a Twitter account, in comparison with Narendra Modi, who hasn't studied abroad, doesn't come from a background of privilege, yet was able to harness technology and run circles around the Congress, sir. There's a real problem there.
Well, look, no, I think we've been late adopters, but we have adopted this realization. There is indeed now a social media cell. There is a far more effective communication strategy. But I would have to admit it's probably come a bit late in the day. And it's not as well organized and as well financed as the BJP's clearly has been.
Dr. Tharoor, it hasn't come late in the day. It still hasn't come. Rahul Gandhi is still not on Twitter. How many frontline politicians in India today are not on Twitter? So it's not as though this come late in the day. It still hasn't come.
Well, let me stress that a lot of us in the Congress Party are on Twitter, so the messaging is coming out from the Congress Party. If Rahul Gandhi personally feels that he doesn't have the time to do justice to it, that's something I've urged him to consider. But at least he's authentic. He's saying he'd do it himself when he finds the time, but since he doesn't have the time, he doesn't want to do it.
Then people would use that to suggest, Piyush, that Narendra Modi somehow finds the time to make 7 rallies, put out personalized tweets. He's responding to everyone who's thanking him and congratulating him, and Rahul Gandhi says he can't find the time. That is why comparisons will be drawn, and those comparisons make Narendra Modi seem so much more formidable than Rahul Gandhi, Piyush Goyal.
Rahul, I don't know whether you are aware that Mr. Narendra Modi,
yes, Piyush.
Mr. Narendra Modi's typical work day is about 20 hours. He sleeps all of 3 hours every night. I hope you are aware that Mr. Modi does not let even a single tweet get posted on his account or a single Facebook page go onto his page without personally clearing it. Now, Mr.
So somebody else does the tweeting for him, is it?
Sits and types that, but I think that's his failure to use people's strength, that if he wants to sit and type himself, that's his choice. We all get it done by our colleagues whom we dictate, and we use people and we use technology to the best of ability. Very often we use dictaphones to dictate what we want, or we now use mobile phones to just dictate what we want to be conveyed. So if Mr. Tharoor wants to nitpick, and in any case, Twitter is a very sensitive subject with Dr. Tharoor, so the less we discuss it, Rahul, the better. But the fact of life is, Mr. Modi was on Facebook before any politician in India. The BJP had its website 14 years ago, 14 long years ago. We already have had 4 versions of our website. The most recent one as recently as August last year, or maybe November last year. So we are a party which has embraced technology. We move with the times. We keep abreast with the needs of the people, and that is why they have reposed faith in us. Incidentally, Mr. Tharoor is again and again repeating about financing. I think that's another argument which is completely bunkum. I wish they would study and analyze where the leakages and corruption in their party system is, that they spend double the money the BJP spent and got such a poor campaign. We used every rupee effectively. We negotiated hard.
Okay.
We put every rupee to best of use, and we were honest in our campaign.
Dr. Tharoor, when you say that Rahul Gandhi tells you in private conversation that he hasn't found the time to be on Twitter, people will ask whether he's utilizing his time well enough. Now, it might seem like a personal detail, but the reality is that Narendra Modi hasn't taken a day off since the time this campaign begins. In fact, he says he never takes a day off. I don't know whether that's completely true, but as Piyush Goyal says, he works 20 hours, he wakes up early in the morning, campaigns through the country, is up on his feet again in the morning. In fact, this morning everyone, after having watched TV or been on TV, was tired. Sadanand was tired, Javed was tired. Narendra Modi was up early in the morning, out, landed in Delhi at 10. Rahul Gandhi, instead, after the elections, chose to go abroad for a holiday. Now, in a system where there is a comparison, he seems to maintain he's a 9 to 5 politician. He likes his Saturday, Sunday off. He's up against a Narendra Modi who's working 24/7 non-stop, breathlessly. God knows where he finds the energy from. There again, raising comparisons about whether he's up to the task of taking on Narendra Modi. Dr. Tharoor.
Look, Mr. Modi's energy I admire as well. It's quite remarkable.
He's quite an admirer tonight.
Rahul Gandhi is not a 9 to 5 politician, and that is absolutely unfair. I've seen Rahul Gandhi at work. He keeps long hours. He travels. I was witness to one such day during the campaign when he began early in the morning, up to 3 different states before coming to Kerala, 3 locations in Kerala, getting off planes, getting on helicopters, getting on the jeeps, and then flying back to Haryana to be up and campaigning the next morning. Rahul Gandhi is no 9-to-5 politician. He works much harder than people give him credit for because he has a smiling, relaxed appearance, which we frankly feel is far more in keeping with the kind of person he is than the kind of, what shall we say, gung-ho nature of Mr. Modi that you're celebrating today. If you want to build up this image of Mr. Modi as a superman, you're welcome to do so, but please don't do it at the expense of somebody who does work very hard.
Dr. Tharoor, if Rahul Gandhi is indeed so hardworking and diligent and not a part-time politician, and he has all these great qualities, to what do you attribute the Congress's dismal performance?
Now, there were lots of factors to that, and then I think that the party will certainly be spending several weeks now analyzing them in some detail. To rattle off a few, there was definitely an element of anti-incumbency. After 10 years, a lot of people just wanted to see a different set of faces running the country. There were, and this is, by the way, you, Sadanand, you live in Washington. In the US Congress, the re-election rate is 96%. In the Indian House of Lok Sabha, the re-election rate is 26%. So anti-incumbency is a genuine statistically provable factor. Second, there was the corruption business, which stuck to our party, even though, as we have repeatedly argued, we have no monopoly on corruption. The other parties, sadly, are just as tainted by this vile phenomenon in our society, which is endemic in our society. And at the same time, when charges have been raised, the Congress party and the UPA government have taken swift and immediate action, even before some of these charges have been substantiated. So that is something more than we've seen in Gujarat, where Mr. Modi's cabinet has 3 ministers who have been convicted of corruption charges but are still serving as ministers pending appeal. Third, there has been the price rise phenomenon. We can say helplessly that fuel prices are mainly to blame. It's gone from $30 to $100 a barrel. It's gone from 40 rupees a dollar to 60 rupees a dollar, and we cannot absorb that kind of difference, and therefore some of that has been passed on to the ordinary consumer. But that price, the fuel price rise and the concomitant food price rise, has certainly also hurt us. And then there are accusations of, in some cases, frustrations with governance. Some of the policies of our environmental ministry have been cited, a sense that there was not enough decisions being made because there were too many vested interests.
All of what you're saying, Dr. Tharoor, may be true, but it ignores a very basic point which we picked up when we traveled on the election express all through the country. And I want to cite what happened at a university in Tirupati. And I'm saying Tirupati because that's not Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi, Chennai, Kolkata. And this young girl who was in college in that university said that I work really hard to get where I get. And I would never make an intern a CEO. I would not as an intern get to be CEO. So how can I make a novice India's Prime Minister? Is the Congress missing, and I want Piyush Goyal's thoughts on that, is the Congress missing the fact that India is becoming more and more merit conscious, and just being born into a privileged family doesn't qualify someone to be India's Prime Minister? Piyush Goyal.
Rahul, I think it's now high time the Congress decided to move beyond falsehoods on Gujarat. What Dr. Tharoor said about the 3 ministers is of course completely erroneous and false, but that has been the Congress strategy all these days. I think we need to now move on to the next level. As regards Mr. Modi's own style of functioning, some of which he tried to criticize, I think Mr. Modi is a person who believes in delegating and allowing people to work, but he keeps an iron hand in terms of honesty. The Congress and the failures of the Congress that he listed out are quite, in fact, he has analyzed their problem quite well. So really they don't need weeks of introspection. They know exactly where they went wrong. So I think it's time that they realize that it will be far better if within the Congress also we saw a little larger span of leadership. We saw a little more merit-based leadership than dynasty or surname-based leadership. And in the BJP, while there is no bar on any individual coming into politics just because his parents were or were not in politics, we all have to fight for space based on our merits, which is why a chaiwala becomes the Prime Minister, which is why a farmer becomes the party president. Now, that is something missing in almost all political parties except the left and the Bharatiya Janata Party. The BJP was down to 2 seats, but we had a galaxy of leaders who picked the party and took it to the top. Unfortunately, this time around, the Congress found itself as with one campaigner. When that campaigner failed, and while he says he campaigned extensively, I would love the nation to know how many campaign speeches and rallies did he address, or where's the length and breadth of India did he go to? Mr. Modi has taken out all the statistics.
No, I have some very simple data.
I have some
very simple data. We did an analysis of all the rallies that Rahul Gandhi addressed. The strike rate of the Congress on those seats where Rahul Gandhi did his rallies was 11%. In the seats where Narendra Modi did rallies, the BJP strike rate was 78%. Now, if your star campaigner can turn only 11% of the seats where he does rallies, Dr. Tharoor, into victories for the Congress party, next time there may be some Congress candidates who say, is there any advantage in Rahul Gandhi coming, because we have to take time out of our campaign, try and put the rally together. Whether he comes or doesn't come seems to make no difference. In fact, only 11% of those people won, in comparison with 78% on the other side. The people were desperate for Modi to come and campaign for that.
Is that worse than the general strike rate of Congress?
No, but there's genuinely no correlation between attendance at a rally and voting for the person whose rally you've attended. So there's a famous example of Mrs. Gandhi, Indira Gandhi Senior, getting into the Guinness Book of World Records for the largest assembly of human people at a political event in history, the 1967 rally she addressed in Madurai.
So you're taking it to a different level. I'm not talking about attendance at a rally. I'm talking about the psychological factor which politicians always refer to, about the number of rallies a particular leader addressed and how many of those rallies was he able to convert into victories for his party. In that, Rahul Gandhi's strike rate is only 11% in comparison with Modi's 78%. Raising questions about his efficacy as a campaigner.
But you see, Rahul, when you look at an election where we've done so badly,
sure,
obviously any campaigner's strike rate is bound to be low, because we haven't even won 11% of the constituencies in the country, the 543. So if you were to be objective, this is perhaps the wrong election to compare these two sets of figures. Mr. Modi won big, the BJP won big, and so in fact I'm surprised it was only 78%. I wonder where he went that he didn't manage to win. The fact still is that these are not the bases for seeing the difference. We concede the fact we've lost this election. You're asking us, is it Rahul Gandhi's fault? I say no. I say there are a lot of factors. I've enumerated many of them, and Piyush himself accepted that some of these factors are the correct ones. There may be more. There are also local factors we haven't talked about in Andhra Pradesh, for example, where a decision taken by the government in the long-term interests of the Telugu people and the Indian nation had short-term political negative consequences for us. That too we paid a price for. So there are various factors. When a government after 10 years loses, there'll never be just one simple reason or one person being responsible.
That's a fair point. And you can't blame Rahul Gandhi for all that happened over the last 10 years when he wasn't even in government.
Rahul Gandhi.
Yes, Piyush Goyal, quickly.
May I make two comments, Rahul?
Yes, sir.
One, of course, that 11% strike rate, I would like to know how many rallies he addressed. I suspect it will not even be in 3 digits.
No,
whereas
106.
Mr. Modi addressed over 250.
106 rallies. Those were the ones that
okay, that's good. Modi addressed about I take that back, but he addressed over 250 rallies. Second, I think what Shashi is missing is a very important point is missing is that Mr. Rahul Gandhi may not have been in government, but he was clearly the head of the party. His mother is the Congress president. And now with Sanjay Baru and Arun Maira's books, we know exactly where the power center was. We know exactly what the position of the Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers, where Shashi also is a member, was. We know how an ordinance passed by the core committee and the cabinet could be so easily by a young man torn and thrown into the sea in public eye, in front of the press, for the world to see what is the value of the Prime Minister's seat and position. In this situation, you also have the Congress trying to fix Mr. Modi through false cases. You have the government trying to initiate absolutely motivated inquiries and motivated commissions against Mr. Modi, where even the judges could see the motivation behind the Congress and their evil intentions.
Okay.
So they couldn't get a judge for 6 months. Now these are things, and look at them. They want to appoint an army chief on the last day. They want to increase diesel prices one day before demitting office.
Okay,
So
I have time for one final question, Piyush Goyal, before we conclude this broadcast. During this show, you were citing Narendra Modi's credentials as a person who works 20 hours a day, by saying he doesn't take a break, works 20 hours a day. Rahul Gandhi, in comparison, takes holidays. He went away even after the elections got over, before results came. He skipped the Prime Minister's dinner. Is that something which is fair to compare? Because in the US and the UK, presidents and prime ministers take holidays. The president in the United States,
Prime Minister Vajpayee used to take holidays as Prime Minister.
Used to take holidays. He used to go to Shimla. So is it
used to go to Bali.
to draw a comparison between Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi just on the basis of Rahul taking holidays, which Narendra Modi doesn't? Someone would say, hey, get a life, man. Why are you working 24/7?
I can name half a dozen BJP leaders who every summer go to the south of France and New York. And
Jetty does that.
No, why take names?
That's fair enough.
People are entitled. I'm sure Piyush Bhai takes holidays. He never takes us along. That's a different story.
Rahul, I think everybody has different management styles, and we should respect each one's management style. I'm happy to concede that Mr. Gandhi has every right to work as little as possible as he wants to, take as many vacations as he wants to. But there is a certain sensibility involved. What is the state of the nation?
Correct.
Is the nation in a situation where you can party when terrorists are holding the whole of Mumbai city to ransom? Is that the time to party? When the nation is going through an economic crisis, is that the time to take a vacation?
So also,
when the nation, the people are suffering from misery,
at a time when there's
that's
such
the time they want a
media
hands-on leader
Dr. Tharoor,
who stands with them.
The symbolism of Rahul Gandhi skipping the Prime Minister's dinner, the symbol of Rahul Gandhi being abroad when kids are on the street, these things raise questions about how serious he is and how up to the task he is of taking on and combating Narendra Modi. There are 5 tough years for the Congress. People will raise questions about somebody who keeps warding off. Piyush Goyal says, sure, he's entitled to party, but when he misses the PM's dinner, that's something that people don't necessarily take very well. Dr. Tharoor.
And this is grossly unfair. Sadly, in our country, there will, for the foreseeable future, be people in poverty, people on the street, people in trouble. We are a country with enormous disparities. Rahul Gandhi is somebody who cares about those people and has advocated policies that will improve their lot in life. But to say you can't party as long as a single child is on the street is totally unreasonable, because in that case you're essentially saying that no one in India should ever go on a party or a vacation who has any aspiration to be involved in public life. That is not reasonable. And I think, Piyush, most of your party leaders do take vacations, and I would not accept that they all consider themselves not to be to be indifferent to the plight of the unfortunate in the country. Let me say, honestly, this conversation, obviously you want to end it out, and
we're out of time on this debate, so we need to wrap up very quickly. Shall we complete your point and then
What an argument. I mean, nobody is talking about one single individual. We are talking of systemic failure. When there is a problem of massive dimension, that's when you expect the leader to be with you. There's a national election going on. It's a huge election where he's fighting to retain his government. He is the leader which all of you are clamoring should become the Prime Minister, though you don't have the ability to announce the Prime Minister candidate, but obliquely each one says he should be my Prime Minister. Everybody is willing to touch his feet, even though he is not announced as the Prime Minister.
Both Piyush Goyal.
Fact of life is, you have lost the leadership battle. I think it's very important that the nation sees merit in every leader. It's not about Congress or BJP. If my leaders were to behave like that, I'm sure we would be asked to account for our conduct.
The Congress has been reduced to less than 10% of the seats in Parliament. For a party like the Congress, there is a real problem that A needs to be acknowledged, B needs to be dealt with, and a solution needs to be found. Being in denial serves no purpose. Dr. Tharoor has conceded some ground, made some points. You've heard Dr. Tharoor, you've heard Piyush Goyal. I don't tell you what to think. You've heard both points of view. You decide who you think is right, who's wrong. For the time being, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, congratulations once again, and thank you so much for joining us. Thanks also to Piyush Goyal for joining us on this broadcast tonight.
Javed Ansari and Sadanand Dume.